The wait is over. What started as the next step in Zain Bando's sports media journey has officially evolved. We are live on the Empty the Bench Network. This is the home for unfiltered, unapologetic takes on combat sports, college athletics, and everything else in between. Welcome to Bando's Breakdowns, the show where the wheelchair is just a footnote and the sports takes are unmissable. And now, here's your host, Zain Bando.
Episode 101 of Bando's Breakdowns. Hope you all are doing fantastic on this, on this beautiful Friday afternoon here in the Chicago suburbs. Friday, August 7, 2026. It's been a banner week all week. Good to be back. It's Friday. We're rolling into the weekend. I'm Zain Bando. I'm your host of Bando's Breakdowns. We've been doing this very show since April of 2024. Shout out to the almost 200 of you that came on this past Saturday to watch episode 100. We've officially ushered in the new official era of triple-digit episodes. So shout out to you guys for coming back. We already have 79 people in here. It's already up to 82 people in here. We're going to be talking about everything in the world in sports this week, primarily with a focus on college football and, of course, the UFC as well, with a few other stories sprinkled in. Before we get into any of the particulars for today's show, please be sure to like, follow, and subscribe to the Empty the Bench Podcast Network. To do so, please go to youtube.com/ETB Network. You can follow the show on social media at Bando's Breakdown. And of course, you can listen to all the archives of Bando's Breakdowns wherever you get your podcasts, as well as those will be updated in due time. My name is Zain Bando. I'm a sports journalist and an ETB Network co-host. You can find my work several places, including over here on the ETB Network as a co-host. I'm also a co-host on ETB Sports with Nick Morganson. I will be a new co-host on Forever Power 5. It's now a two-person show with James Myers, who was recently added to the network. Of course, I'm the host of Zanzinger Part 2, which you see every weekend. You'll be seeing that on Monday this week due to me being on ETB Lounge on Sunday night as well, and a bunch of other stuff. I do a lot of stuff here. I do a lot of stuff in the written realm as well. The sporting news on SI, and of course Field Level Media, Ohio State, MMA Knockout, everything to do with the Big Ten over at TSN. I handle all that stuff as well, and so much more. Of course, very active on social media as well. You can find my handle scrolling across the bottom of the screen at ZamBando99. The DMs are always open. I would gladly welcome any comments, questions, concerns, feedback. I'm an email or a DM away. I want to become friends with most of you guys. I really want to have no haters in the industry at all. So any feedback, anything that you guys want to see on this show, more guests, fewer guests, more of me, less of me, whatever you guys want, we'll do my best to accommodate there. So that'll do it for a little intro, and thank you guys for being here as always. Let's get into the show now, if we can, beginning with Zain's overview, which we like to do. We'll be discussing a whole lot of stuff, including my thoughts on Notre Dame renewing its football rivalry with USC, or vice versa, and when that will begin. All those details, we'll look over them. We'll preview UFC Vegas 120. I'll briefly go over how I did this past weekend with UFC Belgrade and how the card played out before getting into this weekend's event. We'll go over Zuffa Boxing. We'll go over PFL, which is tonight in Charlotte. Obviously, Bando has already done a Best Bets Fight IQ segment. So if you missed it, that was yesterday. He took my actual slot for this show, which is usually on Thursdays. I had a bit of a scheduling conflict yesterday as I saw one of the best Cubs games of the entire season. That's why you didn't see me yesterday. But nonetheless, go check his stuff out if you haven't. And then, of course, we'll go over, because why the heck not, a way too early Illinois preview. And, of course, end the show with one thing that I saw in a banger of a Zain zinger that's more about sports media than anything else. And just the complaining that this industry has and why it bugs me. But let's start with college football. USC and Notre Dame will be playing each other once again beginning in 2030 for the next couple of seasons following their first matchup. It's going to be a bit of a different format. Let's read the press release if we can. Let's take a look at it from the USC angle of things. The USC Trojans, obviously now part of the Big Ten and still searching for its first Big Ten title in its new home. They have yet to they have yet to win a Big Ten championship. Thus far, they've been close, but yeah, we'll see. Let's take a look at this renewal of the series. Here we go. So, according to USC Communications, the games will take place in 2030 to open the season. It'll also take place in 2031 to open the season, potentially in weeks 1, 2, or 3 in 2032 and 2033. This is what transpired. So here's the quote from the AD, Jen Cohen. So here's the quote here. So USC's historic rivalry with Notre Dame holds a special place in the history of college football, and we are happy to resume a series that means so much to the entire Trojan family. It remains important for us to play the game early in the season, so it allows us to schedule competitively with our Big Ten peers and takes into account the health and best interest of our student athletes and program. We are excited for our fans, and we look forward to more memorable matchups and unforgettable games between the Trojans and the Irish. A quick bit of context: in previous years with this series, it would usually take place in mid-October, right in the heart of Big Ten season. That's where it'll adjust there, which is interesting. USC trails in the series 37, 53, and 5 all time. And obviously, USC smartly excludes the Trojans' 2005 victory, which was later vacated due to NCAA sanctions. But Trojan fans know they won that game, and that's one of the most famous games in USC Notre Dame rivalry history. Let's take a look at it from some other perspectives as well. Let's look at Notre Dame. Notre Dame has no quotes from any internal stakeholders, but their release does say this. In the legendary initial meeting of the rivalry back in 1926, Knute Rockne led his team by train across the country and earned a 13-12 victory. Since the first memorable moment, the two programs have compiled more national championships, Heisman Trophy winners, and NFL draft selections than any other rivalry in all of college football. So if you learned anything from today's episode 101 here of Bando's Breakdowns, you should know and you should take away that this rivalry means much, much more to both of these programs involved than people may realize. The programs have met 96 times, with the Irish holding a 53, 38-5 all-time advantage. The Notre Dame USC matchup is the second most played series in Notre Dame program history, trailing only Notre Dame series with Navy at 98. The Irish are 30-14-1 all-time at home against the Trojans, and Notre Dame is 3-1 against current coach Marcus Freeman, having defeated the Trojans by double digits in the past 3 meetings, and over the last 10 matchups, Notre Dame is 8-2. So there you go, man. We are getting more Notre Dame USC football, as 106 people have already popped into the stream. Shout out to all you guys who have popped in here We're about 15 minutes into this thing. Thank you so much. A quick extra note on this. These two teams will not be playing in any subsequent years before 2030. So anybody hoping to see this game played will have to hope that these two teams make the CFP leading up to 2030, because if not, you won't see this game until 2030. So I can't make any predictions right now. We have no idea what either of these teams are going to look like, but just knowing that this rivalry is back is a huge deal. I'm excited to see how it plays out. That's a little bit of a history lesson. That's USC Notre Dame. These two teams in the present will certainly be college football playoff contenders. Some are even suggesting that Notre Dame might be good enough to win a national title, while USC is still looking for that CFP breakthrough with Lincoln Riley, which Lincoln Riley gave me some good stuff at Big Ten Media Day when I was there this past week. So maybe he'll live up to the billing as to what he's saying. He has Jaden Mayava and a whole host of talent back. We shall see what happens in Hollywood. But nonetheless, though, let's move on to some combat sports. It'll be combat sports for the next little bit of the show until we move back over to college football. Usually, we like to group everything together, but to me, this just made more sense because this was a little bit more newsworthy than the other college football topic that we are getting to later on in the program. So, moving forward, UFC Vegas 120 this Saturday night, back at the Apex. First time the UFC is in the United States in several weeks. They've been on the road the last 2 weeks out of the United States in Abu Dhabi and Belgrade. They return to its home base of Las Vegas, Nevada, or it returns to its home base, rather, with a main event of the evening. The main event of the evening, of course, is going to feature a massive headliner 5-round non-title fight with championship implications attached, of course, and that will be moving forward with this here UFC Fight Night. It'll be Quillen Salkild in the headliner. It's his first, I'd say, major U.S. fight, taking on Mateusz Gamrot in the main event of the evening to cap off a 12-fight card from the Meta Apex with a bit of an earlier start to go alongside it. So let's take a look here. So the prelims begin at 5 p.m. Eastern with the main card following. Let's take a look. Main event of the evening, Mateusz Gamrot, one of the better lightweight contenders on the planet, 26-4, taking on the always dangerous, always exciting, and always energetic and popular Quillen Salkild, and 12-1. Number 11 versus number 14, according to Tapology here. Let's take a look at Mateusz Gamrot. He holds a UFC record of 9-4. Looking over at Quillen Salkild, his UFC record is a perfect, unblemished 5-0. Let's take a look at both resumes side by side if we can, beginning with Mateusz Gamrot as well. So, Mateusz Gamrot, as I just alluded to, 9-4 in the UFC, has split his last 4 fights. His 2 losses, though, aren't anything to snooze over. It's Esteban Ribovic, who's always very exciting. That was earlier this year, back at UFC 327 in April. And his other exciting win, and I had it mixed up a little bit. Ribovic was his last fight. He was able to win that fight. His other win in his 2-2 split was against Ludovit Klein. His losses, rather, were to former UFC lightweight champion Charles Oliveira, as well as bona fide contender Dan Hooker. He also has some other nice resume wins, including Arman Tarzukian. You might have heard of him. Rafael dos Anjos, who is the former UFC lightweight champion of the world. And then obviously you got to keep looking over and adding on to this here a little bit more. You know, you add on Rafael Fiziev, who's always dangerous. He's fought Beneil Dariush, Jeremy Stevens. He's fought a whole list of pretty solid names over the last several years, but has not put together a string of wins since a stretch between, let's see here, this would have been March of 2023 to March of 2024, where he won 3 fights in a row and ending that streak with a win against RDA all the way back at UFC 299. So it's been quite a bit since Mateusz Gamrot has gotten on a roll, and he's taking in a guy in Salkild who only continues to get better. As I said, he's 12-1 in MMA, currently on a 12-fight win streak after losing his debut. He's 5-0 in the UFC. If you want to count his Contender Series fight, that's 6 wins. And his biggest win to date was Beneil Dariush, making it look really easy back in May of this year in a very, very dominant win for him against the guy in Dariush, obviously a common opponent, as we've sort of alluded to here, but a guy that's, really dangerous in his own right. Made it look really easy in the opening round. Did some good things early as well in that fight. He's got some other wins too. Jamie Malarkey, Nazareth Hakparast. I mean, it's a solid fight. It's a really good fight. And just to give you some further context here, going into this week, we were 7-7. This past Saturday for UFC Belgrade, we got another main event correct. Let's see if we can get another main event on the books right here. Let me give you my prediction for this. I like Mateusz Gamrot and the experience factor here. Gamrot by decision is my official pick for this fight. I just think Salkild is a great fighter. He's done some dynamic things in the sport. But again, I think experience is experience. And if you want to tail with me, you should. And it is the smart approach because we have not lost a UFC main event since right after UFC Freedom 250. It was the card following UFC Freedom 250 that saw Manel Kape win a very, very nice main event against Kyoji Horiguchi in a phenomenal performance by Kape. We have not lost a main event since. We want to keep it going as well, and we're hoping to keep it going with another stellar card. To go through my other quick picks, we like Diego Ferreira by decision. We like Darren Elkins to win his retirement fight, although I'm very, very cautious about that. Amanda Lemos to win in the first round. Billy Ray Goff to win. Stephen Asplin to win. Nuragay to win. Louis Sutherland to win. Souza to win. Johns to win. Miller to win. And the debuting Gigi Canuto. And for those of you who know who that is, she was just on The Ultimate Fighter as the season is currently going on. We reviewed her fight over on Tough Enough a couple of days ago, and now she's in the UFC. She's in the UFC off of a loss on The Ultimate Fighter, which is becoming this trend where you're seeing some of the contestants already fighting in the UFC and or PFL. It just goes to show how much the show has changed over the years. That used to not normally be the case, but now we're moving into it. So there you go. And then continuing on with Saturday, Zuffa Boxing 10. This is the fight that Dana White will be at. He's been all excited to be in Ireland this whole week because he's got his guys with him, and he's got Callum Walsh fighting on this card as well. So let's take a look at Zuffa Boxing 10 if we can. And I know I'm going to get some comments. I'm a Zuffa stan. Yeah, I am. I'll be the first to admit I watched every Zuffa fight in their history, and I think the product is awesome. I don't want to hear any Zuffa slander. I think the fights are good. I think they have some good prospects. I think they have some guys that can, they can build off of if they really want to. I think it's an exciting product. I really do. I think it's one of those where if you haven't checked it out, you should. It's good boxing. I really enjoy it. Let's take a look at the card. It's an 8-fight card, traditional boxing card, main event of the evening. IBF World Middleweight Championship. Aaron McKenna versus Etinosa Ohia, 20-0 versus 22-0. That's as elite of a fight that you could possibly get. Aaron McKenna, one of the better champions on the planet at 160 pounds. Ohia, that's a pretty good knockout power. Is an interesting strategist. It should be a good fight. I like McKenna conservatively by decision. I think Callum Walsh keeps it rolling at 160 against Tyler Denny. I think that's a great fight. I think Walsh can win that one, and I think it's an impressive fashion. We've got Brad Axe against Sam Hickey. I really like that fight as well. And just going through my quick picks, we like McKenna, we like Walsh, we like Hickey, we like Ward, more specifically Joe Ward at 12-1. He's looking to get to 13-1. We got Luis Green to try to get to 19-4 against Daniel Bushek. And if I didn't mention this previously, Joe Ward is fighting Ajuram Kasparian. He's 14-0. I'm telling you guys, this matchmaking is legit. These undefeated guys on almost every Zuffa show always tend to lose. So I think that's the whole point of this thing. They want the most elite prospects and the most elite talent that they could possibly get to try to build up this promotion, as they want undefeated guys, to taste their first loss. And I completely get it. There's a lot of high level fights on here, and of course we got Stevie McKenna at 16-1 fighting Owen O'Neill. It's a good card. Check it out, 2 p.m. Eastern for the main card as well. And then tonight, PFL Charlotte. Pretty exciting PFL card. The PFL's put together some really solid shows over the last several weeks of this summer series, if you will. Tom was just in Long Island this past week for the PFL Long Island show, the Usman Nurmagomedov card. And we've got two guys who I've spoken to in the past in the main event. Brian Battle taking on Dalton Rasta. Should be a good fight. 12-3 versus 11-3 in their careers. Let's take a look at Battle to start. Brian Battle left the UFC at 7-1. Has done some stuff in DBX the last couple of fights. Did lose a tough fight to Johnny Eblin in the first round at PFL Pittsburgh. He's a good guy. When Battle is healthy and when he is on weight, he's a very good fighter. He can go as far as his career wants to take him. It's his mental psyche that can sometimes get in the way. But I like what he's been able to bring. Looking over to Dalton Rasta, though, 11-3 as a pro, is very charismatic, talks a lot of trash, but does a good job in backing it up. He doesn't like being asked questions that we all know the answers to. So anybody who interviews Dalton Rasta, just know that sometimes if he isn't all in the mood, sometimes he can get to you a little bit. But overall, though, he is a fun guy to talk about and discuss, because you never know what you're going to get from him, and he's always really exciting. So just something to bear in mind as well when you watch this and stuff, and just know that sometimes you get what you least expect with the PFL, and it sort of just doesn't do it justice until you watch it, because sometimes that promotion gets a lot of flack, and you never know. I mean, it's one of those where you don't know what you don't know, and that's what the PFL can give you sometimes. But the main event is solid, though, and to give my pick for this fight, we're actually big fans of this fight, or I'm a big fan of this fight. I like Battle by decision in the main event of the PFL Charlotte card. It's a 13-fight card tonight. First fight is at 6 p.m. ESPN Plus, and of course, regular ESPN as well. And yeah, overall, a solid card. Looking forward to checking it out later on tonight from the Bojangles Coliseum in Charlotte, North Carolina. MMA in Charlotte doesn't happen all that often, so if you guys haven't watched MMA and you're in the Charlotte area or thinking about going to the fight, would highly recommend doing so. All right, we have a couple minutes left in the stream here. Let's talk some Illinois football. We're a little under a month away from the first game of the season. Just to go over some takeaways from what I've seen this offseason, what I've kind of heard and what I've read up on. This is the one Illinois team this year where I just don't know what to expect from it. This is year 6 for Brett Bielema, and this is the first time in 3 years that he has a different quarterback than what he had the previous year. The last 3 years, he's had Luke Altmaier. Obviously, before that, he had a lot of success with, the likes of Tommy DeVito, of course. His first quarterback was Brandon Peters, but that was short-lived. So really, the last two guys he's had, DeVito and Altmaier, have been his most experienced quarterbacks. And now you get Caden Hauser, a kid who, started at Michigan State, was thrown right in, didn't participate or play as well as he should have, goes to East Carolina, kind of reinvigorates his career, and now it's coming back to the Big Ten with, as Brett likes to say, a chip on both shoulders, for the program itself, which Hauser, I think, embodies this, Illinois toughness, even though he is from California, which I think is really interesting. So there's that to start. Obviously, we really don't know what to expect offensively from this team, considering that there's only one returning starter back. And I think it would have been Behan, if you will, on the offensive line. So he's got a big job to do. Colin Dixon has to step up. And obviously, defensively, you hope that Xavier Scott is 100% healthy and can do some big things, because when he is 100% healthy, he is one of the best Big Ten shutdown corners in the whole conference. So that's known as well. Let's go over the schedule if we can. We'll be pinpointing the schedule every chance we can here over to the next several weeks. Let's look at the schedule if we can. There it is. All right, here we go. So, there it is. So we've come a long way since 2021 when Brett went 5-7 in his first year. But opening the season, they get Alabama and Birmingham on a Thursday night. Should be a win there, I would think. Then the next week, you rematch Duke. Duke comes to Illinois. There's a lot of hype around them. Defending ACC champions, I think you can win that game. Southern Illinois, probably a win there too. So I think you could safely assume 3-0 is plausible. And again, 19-7 the last 2 years. The only two home losses Illinois has suffered in that period: Ohio State last year and Minnesota the year before. So you want to talk about Geese Memorial Stadium being a tough place to play, as Brett Bielema told me last week. There you go. I mean, that is literally the embodiment of this new look identity Illinois program, is that when you play Illinois and you're coming on the road to Memorial Stadium, it used to be, the laughing stock. Nobody would be there and it'd be overtaken by the road faithful. And now this year, every season ticket is sold out. So you want to talk about a turn in the program and the momentum and what Brett Bielema has built the last 2 years. It's been remarkable, but they need to keep it going. Then they play the homecoming game. It's the Orange Out game against Purdue. I would assume, if you were to ask me right now, we won't know until the 6-day hold, if you will, leading up to that Purdue game. But if I were to guess, that's probably a 2:30 kick. Then you get the long-awaited reunion with Pat Fitzgerald and Michigan State at Michigan State. We're on October 10th now. I think that's an exciting game as well. I think it's a game Illinois can win as well. The game I did skip over is Ohio State. And the reason why I skipped it over is because, to me, barring a miracle and how good Ohio State is supposed to be this season, I think that will be Illinois' first loss of the year. So if you take a look at it in stride, you could be 4-1 going into that Michigan State game, and could be positioning yourself to be 5-1 going into a massive game against Oregon at home right before Halloween. I think you drop that game, but if you want a signature win at home and you want a potential program-changing win, I would argue last year's version of that was USC. Maybe you get this one against Oregon and you're firmly in the college football playoff discussion entering Halloween. This is where the season gets a little bit hairy here. This is where you don't really know what Illinois team is going to show up. So you get Maryland at Maryland. Maryland's got some really nice pieces under Mike Locksley. They just haven't been able to put it together. This is one of those games where I'm a little nervous. Illinois typically every year loses a game that it should not lose, and Maryland could easily be that game as well. Then they come home for a Friday night game. It's the first of 2 consecutive Friday night games, one at home and one on the road. They start with Nebraska at home. Nebraska has some quarterback question marks there still, although it seems like Lyndon Meyer is going to be the guy there to replace Dylan Raiola, who's now at Oregon. But nonetheless, I think Illinois is just a better coach team. The big question mark game, though, to me is UCLA. The amount of hype around what Bob Chesney is starting to do in Westwood kind of worries me a little bit. That's another question mark game. So I would say we were kind of on the path here. So I'd say you lose the Oregon game, you're 5-2. You win the Maryland and Nebraska games, you're 7-2 going into the UCLA game. Unfortunately, I'm going to say we lose to UCLA. I really think so. I think this is one of those games where we'll be in the college football playoff conversation, with our only losses being to the 2 best teams in the league, and then we'll lose to UCLA to firmly knock ourselves out but still being a very good bowl game by the end of the year. Then the big one against Iowa at home, senior day. Haven't played Iowa in Champaign in 4 years. Last time you played Iowa was at Iowa, which Iowa won the game, obviously. This is another one that I'm nervous about. I've been back and forth on this. I said back in the spring that Illinois would lose to Iowa. I'm of the belief that if Iowa is in the playoff mix, which I think they will be, I think this is a game that Illinois could possibly lose a heartbreaker. And I hope I'm wrong, but I'd say they drop that game and they end the season to me with a Northwestern team that just does not have surely enough talent as Illinois. I think Illinois wins that game. So I think anything that's 8-4 or 9-3 is a really good year. Anything below either of those is a colossal step back. So it's not that tough of a schedule. You avoid Penn State, you avoid Michigan, you avoid Indiana. You got to win the games you're supposed to. This is another one of those seasons as well because you get Indiana at home next year. I'm almost positive you get a couple other games, that are can't miss, must circle games, if you will. You got to take advantage of the schedule while you have it. That's my thought process on that. And speaking of college football as well, figured we would plug this too as we're getting closer to the season. Before you map out your college football slate, you've got a major traffic alert across the entire country. We're seeing bumper to bumper action in the top 25, heavy congestion around playoff bubble teams, and serious delays. If you get stuck watching a low scoring snoozer, you need the ultimate navigation system before kickoff. And of course, that means tuning into Gridiron and Gridlock with Trevor Williams, which premieres with week 0, August 29th. Every Saturday morning, Trevor brings you the full college football traffic report, breaking down where the fast lanes are, routing you around the trap games, and giving you an early walk at or early look or early locks, if you will, at the marquee matchups you strictly can't afford to be stuck in traffic for. Don't get detour bound this Saturday. Quit your schedule and tune in to Gridiron and Gridlock with Trevor Williams beginning this season every Saturday, 10 a.m. Eastern, 7 a.m. Pacific. It is back in full force right here on the ETV network. Map out your Saturday, avoid the dead ends, and coast all afternoon only on the ETV network. Make sure to subscribe today. YouTube.com/ETV network. Moving into our final two topics, Zan Zinger. Sports media needs to stop playing the victim. So I saw a reporter a couple days ago from Outkick, I'm pretty sure is what it was, get denied media credentials to a WNBA regular season game. And of course, it happened to be the biggest WNBA regular season game for the beat that this person was covering. And that obviously was the Minnesota Lynx. And he got called out because, obviously, if you're a member of the media, you cannot apply for media credentials and expect to get approved within 4 days, regardless of the outlet. I know this better than anyone. You can never apply that late and expect to get in, of course, unless the event was obviously planned late, which, of course, the regular season in the WNBA is never planned late. So why would you apply for something 4 days in advance when you know that you have the entire off season and beginning of the season to worry about that stuff? And obviously they wanted to complain online about it, and they got schooled by regular people that aren't even in the industry. So what does that tell you? What does that tell you? I mean, that is as dumb as you could possibly get from a planning purpose standpoint. I don't understand how people could be entertained by that or okay with that. I really don't. It doesn't make any sense to me whatsoever. But nonetheless, and in fact, let me just briefly bring it up because I think there was an article written about this to even further my point. All right, here we go. Well, there's another story about Outkick about the whole trans debate with the. Yeah, this is whatever to me. I don't know. Let's see. Yeah, Dan, um, and I don't know how to pronounce the last name, Zakshiki, single game media credentials for their August 2020 game against the Fever was denied. And he claims that the rejection was due to, the discourse around trans athletes and what Sophie Cunningham has said and all that stuff. I think it's I think it's dumb. Dumb explanation. You should know better than most that you can't apply 4 days in advance for a game you want to cover. It's a long season. I don't get it. This is why if you work in other industries, in other sports, not to get too deep into the weeds, but you can't do that. If the comms people are good, they give you months, if not weeks, several weeks and months in advance to let you know when you should apply and when you'll more than likely get approved for whatever games you're going to be at. It's just a dumb argument. Shouldn't even be a topic of discussion. And there you go. And then one thing I saw, Lincoln Riley did a fall camp press conference the other day, and there was this one comment that made me laugh because he said he hadn't left the facility in 5 days. And if you go back 5 days from when the fall camp presser was, my man was in Chicago. He was getting interviewed by me and of all the other media that was there. So I think Lincoln Riley had a brain fart. I figured that'd be a fun way to end the show, but it is what it is. College football is back. You gotta love it, and there you go. No errors this week, as far as I'm aware. Once again, thank you so much for tuning into another edition of Bando's Breakdowns. This has been episode 101. Make sure to like, follow, and subscribe. Please go to youtube.com/ETB Network. Follow the show on social media at Bando's Breakdown. I hope you have a wonderful weekend. I hope you enjoy all of the happenings in the world in sports. Shout out to the 170 people who popped by the stream today. And we will catch you guys very, very soon. Again, my name is Zain Bando. Enjoy the rest of your day. Tune in for all the other programming that's to come this weekend, and we will catch you guys later on. Once again, this has been the ETB Network. This has been Bando's Breakdowns. I'm Zain Bando. I really, really appreciate the support as always. We're very, very close to football officially being back. The preseason began last night with a thriller between the Panthers and the Cardinals. But until next week, have a good one. Take care. Stay cool. And we'll see you guys soon. Cheers, everyone. Thanks.